This one's been in the drafts for a while. Today, we're going over a video topic that's going to make a lot of you mad, and it's going to remind everybody that this is a thing that we can talk about. And the reason I say that is because there are some historical numbers, there's data from the past that goes out there and compares these two players. Today we're talking about Alexis Lafreniere, the first overall pick in the 2020 draft by the New York Rangers, and instead of going over some hypothetical trade to the Vancouver Canucks like we have been doing the past little while, we're going over to some statistical comparisons made by Chace McCallum. Now, I'm pretty sure most of y'all who are on Twitter a lot are familiar with McCallum's work. He does some writing on hockey stuff. He's got his own Substack account, and he does a lot of statistical stuff as well. The reason we're making this video is because of a tweet he made back on May 2nd. So this was from almost a month ago. It's been in the drafts. It's been in the back burner this entire time, but because I don't really have any other topics to go out there and bring up, I decided to go out there and talk about this today. Here's a random thought about Alexis Lafreniere. Lafreniere scored less than a few top picks in his own draft class, behind Stützle, Rossi, and Lundell, despite being relatively old for a draft-eligible player. While an elite prospect, he should have had lower expectations than most first overall picks. And this attached is the highest NHL E-score per game played of the 2020 class in the 2020 season. So if you take a look at the numbers just based off of the age, the league, the points that all these guys got, Alexis Lafreniere actually had the fourth best season comparative to Lundell, Rossi, and Stützle. Now, these guys were playing in different leagues. Stützle was in the German league, he still produced points, and based off of the model that Chace McCallum is using, Tim Stützle and the points that he had gotten in the DEL at the age that he was at was more impressive than Alexis Lafreniere and the season that he had, where he was dominating the QMJHL, and he was nearly 18 years old for the entire year. This is not necessarily a surprise because it was definitely something we had talked about when the draft was happening. Hey, Stützle had this crazy good year. Marco Rossi was doing really good things. He had more points than Lafreniere did. Rossi was in the OHL and he was a center, so it was a lot more, favorable in the model, etc., etc. Anton Lundell was doing his thing as well, so, hey, that rhymed. Unintentional. But Lafreniere had a season that was technically not the best season in 2020's NHL Draft. Replying to this Chace McCallum tweet is another McCallum tweet. Here are Lafreniere's closest statistical comparables as of his draft year. So we're comparing Lafreniere in 2020 to other prospects who had similar numbers in their own draft seasons. If we adjust it all for draft position, Lafreniere's closest comparison was Nail Yakupov. Both have had fairly unlucky trajectories for their prospect quality, but the warning signs were still there from day one. And you can see the graph attached that Lafreniere had a similarity ranking to Marco Rossi of 0.53, so there's a pretty good link there. But Nail Yakupov's the closest one on the list after that at a 0.63. You then have Sean Monahan, Sam Reinhart, Matthew Tkachuk, other guys, some of them are good, some of them are not good. Leon Draisaitl is out here at a 0.81. But adjusting for draft position, where you're considering where the guy was taken in this model, puts Nail Yakupov as the closest comparison for Alexis Lafreniere. You could imagine that Sam Reinhart actually would be the next up because he was taken in the second overall spot in 2014. Now, we all know that Reinhart eventually became a star. There are a lot of players on this list that are very good. Matthew Tkachuk, 100-point guy. Nazem Kadri was a 100-point pace player last year. Taylor Hall was a Hart winner. Tyler Seguin had his heyday back in the day. Leon Draisaitl is one of the best players in the NHL. But Alexis Lafreniere's closest comparison is Nail Yakupov. And that's a fact that you're not going to like. A lot of people are not going to like this. And even though Yakupov did have a great start to his NHL career, 31 points, 48 games played, it never became better than that. He only played, 4, 5, 6 seasons in the NHL before yeeting back over to SKA St. Petersburg in the KHL. Even now, he is not a top point producer in the Continental Hockey League. He is just a regular run-of-the-mill dude. I mean, the postseason run with Avangard Omsk, he had 3 points in 14 games played, so this is definitely not the type of guy that probably should have gone first overall. But he did anyway, because in 2011-2012 he had 69 points in 42 games with the Sarnia Sting, and he was over a point per game at the World Juniors, which is quite an impressive feat for a guy that was draft eligible. It's funny because Lafreniere almost exhibited the exact same thing. Dominated his junior league, 112 points, 52 games played, was a double point a game player at the World Juniors that year. Then he got drafted first overall, he played his first NHL season, and he was at half a point a game. It took him such a long time to get his first goal, and now you take a look at what he did this season, 39 points in 81 games played, 16 goals, 23 assists, and 0 points in 7 games in the playoffs against the Devils. Lafreniere, at the end of his ELC, which is expired already, he's going to need a contract for next season, definitely is not the player that we had thought he was going to be able to be. Based off of the draft profile, based off of the season he had in Rimouski, based off of the World Juniors, there were a lot of people, myself included, kind of saying, hey, if Lafreniere gets 50-60 points next year, like in 2020, 2021, that wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world. It's just, he unfortunately did not go that far at all. And so now, I mean, look, Lafreniere had 3 seasons in the NHL so far. He's been slowly improving, which is a good sign. He still needs to improve his foot speed, all things considered. But for Nail Yakupov, I mean, by the 3rd season that Yakupov had in the NHL, you could already sort of tell, okay, this is not good. This is danger territory. Nail had 33 points in 81 games played in his 3rd NHL year. Lafreniere had 39. So there you go, a little bit of an improvement there. Hopefully Lafreniere does not have 23 points in 60 games next season and eventually drops off getting traded to St. Louis and then going to Colorado, last-ditch effort, playing with McKinnon, etc., and then he goes and leaves for the KHL. Hopefully that's not the case here with Lafreniere. But it is just kind of interesting noting how this is the closest statistic and stylistic comparison from the past few years regarding these NHL drafts and the players that are taken from it. So, big shout out over to Chace McCallum for going out there and tweeting this data. But if this ticks you off, then hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, because I definitely do think this has potential to garner some interesting conversation between Rangers and Oilers fans. Oilers fans, what are your thoughts on Yakupov and the career he had had? Do you think you see similarities between Yak and Laf, how Lafreniere has developed so far, how he was like in Rimouski, how he's played in his debut with the National Hockey League, and do you think there's actually hope? Do you think there's a realistic chance that Lafreniere breaks out of that bubble and separates himself from the closest stylistic comparison that he had, which was Nail Yakupov? He had a better 3rd year in the NHL than Yak, but there still is more development to go here. Hopefully with his foot speed, hopefully with his decision-making and his playmaking. If you're a Rangers fan, does it kind of alarm you? Does it frighten you? Does it make you scared that this is the case? And does it make you ticked off that I made this video in the first place? If you're a Canucks fan, what are your thoughts about this? Because if Lafreniere is apparently a player the Canucks have been targeting for a while now, does this dissuade you even more from trying to go out there and make that trade to get him? Were you already hesitant about it before this video, or is that feeling even more solidified right now? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Lafreniere, Nail Yakupov, the draft, the profiles, everything in between. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.